Hey everyone, welcome to another stream at Random Cloud Chats. Today we do have a guest with us, so you already know him, so that's a hint. But yeah, I will save the entrance for later. But yeah, today we'll be talking about tech hiring and how the hiring market is heated right now. But that both has a positive and a negative impact. So yeah, we'll be talking about that, and we also want to bring some kind of format to this our random cloud chat. So usually we used to have a 10 to 15-minute stand up where we usually talked about how our weeks have been, things that we had been working on, any special projects that we are working on, or anything related to content that might be coming. Or yeah, so as we wait for Gwen and our guest, let's talk about my week. So I've officially completed week one at Google, and I'm, I'm I have mixed feelings. It's definitely there's a lot of information, so I'm just eating that information all at once and trying to stay sane. But other than that, it's an exciting opportunity, and I look forward to see what it brings. So that also means that I'm learning GCP a lot these days. So I think I'll sit the GCP exams in upcoming weeks. But yeah, I've been using Coursera and Pluralsight for now, and some YouTube and documentation. But yeah, I was already preparing for GCP Digital Leader or Cloud Leader, whatever that's called, certificate. But now I'll be also preparing for Associate Cloud Engineer certificate, and maybe I'll go for the professional one too down the road. But for now, those two are the ones that I'm preparing for. But yeah, that's been my week here, and officially completed week one at Google. So hey, Gwen's here.
What's up? Can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you. I was just talking
Oh
about
shit.
a bit of a structure that we have for
Mm.
RCP now, and how we'll be doing 10 to 15 minutes of stand up, cool things that we have been working on during the week, and things that are upcoming maybe down the road. Um, yeah, I just told them how my first week at Google has been, and how about you? How was your week?
Um, what did I do this week? Oh goodness, lot of Bash, a lot of Linux, a lot of. I've been trying like a bunch of things. Been doing some product work too, which is
Interesting.
interesting, for lack of a better word, right?
Yeah.
Um, dude, I'm tired. Like, and I've also been. I feel like I've been sick for like a month,
Yeah.
and my partner was also sick or is still sick, so like juggling all that. Yeah, it's a lot. It's like one of those weeks. It's also like I think in tech there's like seasons, like super busy up until maybe
Yeah.
stuff like quiets down like maybe June, July, August, and then it
Hmm.
kind of follows like this like the school.
Like a yeah, like a flow of things.
Yeah. But yeah, you finished your first week.
Yep.
And we were talking about how you have your onboarding, and like I had this with Microsoft too. Is like it just doesn't feel the same, and it kind of. I mean, we're obviously very grateful, but it just doesn't feel the like the same as if you were like onboarding in person, right?
Oh yeah, that's a huge thing. So it's hard. So for me, and this is what I was talking to my like new manager and new team members is I'm like I pick up reactions and cues and like based on how people are reacting to what I'm saying,
Yeah,
um, how people walk and stuff. Like I'm not insane, but like there's that aspect of it that I really want to see and like see people in person. That's not present. And I am not gonna send someone an email or send some stranger a hi message saying that, hey, what do you do in our team? Like, I am new here, Rishabh.
Yeah.
So type of conversations are like really natural when it comes to, oh, you're going for lunch, right? Or you're going to get coffee and you find someone and they're like, hey, are you
Mhm.
new here? And you're like, yeah. And then they just happen naturally. Whereas it's really hard with remote onboarding, I feel like. But yeah, otherwise, yeah, I'm grateful. It seems really interesting for now. But yeah, I was telling the chat that I'm constantly like doubting. Like imposter syndrome is hitting hard now, um, because of just the flow of information. Like it's too much right now, but I think it'll get better. I know I felt the same when I started at ECI too, so it'll get better.
Yeah, I mean, it's I don't know, dude. I still feel like there's just because you go from like a company. I don't know how many people were at ECI. Alf's here. Hold on, let me add Alf. Oh, I guess his camera's off. Anyway, I don't know how many people. There's like a couple hundred. What was the size of the company there?
At ECI,
Yeah.
so we went from 35 people to
Mhm.
2,500 after the acquisition, but it was still small.
Okay.
I'd say
So you compare that to thousands,
100,000. Yeah.
thousands and thousands, and then like I have the issue where it's like, I can meet new people every single week. Hold on, let me add Alf. Alf, are you?
So yeah, I did tell the chat that we might have a special guest today, and
His
you
camera,
already
camera's off.
know them, or I
I
said
am
him.
here. I'm trying to get everything to work, but it's deciding that it's not working appropriately.
I feel like your audio's like lagging with your video. I think.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It is.
Okay, now it's better.
Okay, we'll see. I
Yeah,
don't know.
it's
I'm
better.
really hoping that my camera is not showing up. But oh well, what can you do? It's gonna be my MacBook camera for today.
This is your MacBook camera. It's not bad.
Yeah, it's the new MacBooks are pretty good.
Are you streaming? You're using that to stream? I switched to the M1 to stream too. It's like it's freaking amazing.
Oh yeah, I'm just switching from doing from the M1. Probably I'm just
Nice.
gonna deciding to do these. So hello, let's do this and hello.
It's a great
That's
angle.
better. Yeah.
You get
It's
another
great
shelf.
angle.
There we go. Yeah, like my you haven't been at my place in a while. My board
Yeah.
game collection has kind of expanded.
Yeah, I think wait. I can't remember what I last saw. There was like a shelf with games, but I feel like you added another one.
This one? Oh no, it's the same one. It's just expanding every single time.
Gee. Well, yeah, you really went in on. Anyway, Alf. For those who are new, Alf does. Alf, what's your you're like data engineer, right? Like lead data engineer.
I am primarily I am a tech lead in data science, and yeah, so I lead a team that is implementing a lot of like the data science related work at my company. A lot of it is mostly ticket creation and system design.
Okay.
So and then there's a ton of like the machine learning ML ops recently. Like a lot of the effort recently has been in ML ops for us.
Cool. We were talking about Rishabh's first week at Google, and then we were talking about remote onboarding. Did you onboard remotely or did you have it in person?
Yeah, every single company I've ever worked for actually has been remote. So I always
You haven't had a wow.
I had an internship in person, but I never had a full-time job position in in person.
So, what would you say, even with that small exposure you had with the internship, what is better? Is like, do you feel comfortable with remote onboarding?
I think honestly that this is a big difference, and I think this goes more on the company's cultural approach
Mm-hmm.
than it does to say, oh, it's better to do it online versus in person. There are companies where they are very good with remote and they they include remote training and remote onboarding as part of like their HR culture. And there are companies that are not equipped for remote onboarding, and then they say, oh, remote onboarding is hard. It's not hard. It's just that you need to actually prepare for that as much as you prepare for in-person onboarding. And that kind of falls also in the camp of like, oh, are companies ready and feel comfortable in not having the control of like, hey, I see a human in front of me consistently, can I track them, and so on and so forth. So there is it's a lot of company culture point of view, but I honestly I believe that neither is like inherently better than the other. I guess if anything, remote gives you a little bit of more leeway of learning on your own time and your own like comfort instead of being bombarded with stuff in person, and then you have to be there.
Yeah.
I think it's so. I mean, the question that is more interesting to me is like, how do you feel about your first job being full remote versus in person?
Mm-hmm.
And I've told people this a bunch of times, because especially with this pandemic, and this will lead into the thread that I wanted to talk about today that I find fascinating. But like with me, if I didn't, especially that sysadmin gig, so after my help desk one, that sysadmin gig, if it wasn't in person, I probably wouldn't have been able to like land a promotion or build as as many like relationships with the senior engineers there, or with my boss, or with leadership, to work overtime to get on other projects that were aside of my role, if I wasn't in person at the right place at the right time, kind of thing.
Mm-hmm.
And just like the accessibility to people who are willing to answer questions, who are willing to just be like, hey, I just really need help on, can you come by my desk for like 5 minutes?
Yeah.
The opportunity just is not replicated in a remote scenario. And it's not that it's not possible. It's just,
It's hard.
we're not there yet, or it's like not the norm.
Yeah, I think just to circle back on Antonio's point, I think it depends a lot on culture again, but I can see it being hard with like larger companies where the number of employees are just massive, right? And that cross collaborative work is really hard. Apart from like even just reaching out to someone to say, hey, I'm interested. So for me, it's really similar to what you said, Gwen, is like because I was in person, I was able to like transition to cloud because I was just able to go to this cloud team and was like, hey, I want to learn this. Can I sit with you?
Or just
And
hang out. Yeah.
just hang out for an hour every day. And that's how it worked out. So that is hard if I do that to some random stranger through Slack or Teams and say, hey, you're in the cloud team. Can I, like, could you show me what you're doing and how I can enter this space? But yeah, I don't know.
I actually think it's very there is like a point to be made, and I feel like the problem with remote really is the fact that like you have to be kind of more in sync than you like synchronous than you would have to be when you are in person, because you can potentially just work next to someone, do your own thing, and when you need something you can ask. And for example, this is also true with like networking overall, because for example, if you're an event, say like this is not necessarily only work related, but if you're in an event and you want to network with someone, if you're in a like virtual networking, you have to drop off a call, get on a call with another person in private, ask a question in private, and similar, or you have to do like Zoom and like send message to person, but then you're distracted from the rest of the thing, and you're not feeling as comfortable in like just giving asking questions overall. So that's the negative part of remote. But on the other side is like a balance of life, because you have the chance of like taking your flow in terms of like how you work, like in terms of breaks, in terms of like environment and so on. You have much more control over that, so potentially you're more productive on solo work, but there is a little bit more friction in collaborative work. So that's the real in between.
And I think it also depends on what stage you are in your
I was
career.
about to say that. I
Yeah.
think entry level, like the in-person, is just so much more beneficial. Whereas now I'm confident enough to like reach out to anybody, be
Yeah,
like,
yeah,
hey, can I ask you about this, right? Whereas when you're like in person, you kind of need that extra like maybe push or just incentive that you don't have in remote. But here's like a solid question. I wonder how like y'all do this, but how do you bounce ideas with teammates when you're remote?
Ping on Slack mostly. Like
Yeah.
I know
Depends.
the people that I work with, so I know I just send a message, or we have like a team group where we just like put a question there and someone answers
Yeah.
or something. But that's mostly the real way to like the only real way to do it efficiently, because otherwise you would have to ask for someone for a meeting and so on, and it'll be more like time consuming because you have to sync multiple people.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's same for me. It's just pinging someone on Teams, and this is not with Google, but yeah, with ECI it was pretty similar. And I usually know what time, what day kind of works for someone who I'm
Mhm.
trying to ping, and it's usually the afternoons towards the end of the week. So we jump on a call after I message them and discuss the idea.
Yeah, for me it depends like the context where it's is it like something that's quick
Yeah.
and then I can send like a message, but I also like I've started to develop sort of this Rolodex of like how people like to be approached.
Yeah.
I know there's people on my team who like to, oh, just Teams me whenever or set up a meeting kind of thing. Like you start to develop that context also.
Hmm.
But it's like I try to avoid taking up anyone's time because I feel like everyone has like meeting fatigue now too, and like Zoom fatigue and everything. Because it's not just like, talking to your colleagues. It's like virtual conferences and like your daily stand-ups and all that. All that is just like in front of a camera now. Versus there used to be at least some like the in-person like aspect to it would at least make it a little different.
Yep.
But yeah, I guess it depends. I guess it typically will be a message, and I've like you start to develop like your go-to people, right? It's like, oh, I know who to ask, I know how to ask them, and that kind of stuff. Yeah, but it's all a quick message on Teams. Here's a good one that I thought was like fantastic. I like remote, but it feels like solitary confinement at times. That might be a strong phrase there to use, but it can definitely get lonely. Like even though we're so connected, it can get lonely. You know what I miss a lot about in person, and I haven't had a like in person gig since the cloud engineer gig, so that's back in 2018. The amount of activities that we could do to like take breaks, like there's ping pong, there were video games. We would have like weekly like lunch, like everyone would bring their lunch and like sit at the like, and it was a smaller team. Yeah, or we would have like a something outdoors, something like that. Just and those opportunities where it's like almost like organic gatherings where it's like we're not like scheduling anything. It's like, oh, we're gonna have this, anyone who wants to bring their lunch and eat at the table, like we're gonna do that. Or I learned how to play ping pong. I learned cloud, so I learned Azure, and I learned how to play ping pong when I was going from sysadmin to cloud engineer, so a year, just by like taking breaks and playing with like a bunch of different people. And it was cool because it was like I could play with the CEO, the CTO, lead data engineer, lead full stack engineer, stuff like that, and we would bond over simply playing ping pong. And I do miss that. And it's like that's like there's no way to replicate that.
Oh, for sure, yeah.
On remote. Yeah.
Yeah, I remember those like 15-minute breaks that you would take to just have a set of ping pong match with someone from a different, like really different team. So I have played with sales team, marketing, developers, and it was good because otherwise you don't collaborate much with them. And that kind of like, it'll also like a good icebreaker kind of opportunity.
Yeah, absolutely.
And I now play with a volleyball team that I used, like we just had a summer event back at ECI when we went on a Friday afternoon to play volleyball. And then we decided to form a team because with some players who were like, oh yeah, we play it really good. We have a good chemistry and we should form a team in the local league, and we still play together. So those like organic relationships, I don't know. Like
Yeah.
it's networking, but yeah, I find them like good relations.
And it just makes the day go by a little easier. I mean, these don't have to turn into relationships that you have for the
Oh no,
rest of your life, right? These
it
aren't
might turn into it, but yeah, they don't
yeah,
have to.
they don't have to, but they make working a little easier. They make communication a little easier and stuff like that. And it's just like remote. It's like, I don't know. To me, it doesn't seem like a thing. As an introvert, I never really thought about building those relationships in office, but it's true. It's also how I went from tech support to junior admin as well. When I ended up going remote with the new company, I felt isolated. Let's see. Yeah, the isolation thing is like, it's now like, so someone else said something here. I wouldn't mind a hybrid style approach. Yeah, this is why I'm trying to, like, once I'm like 100% not sick anymore, I want to go back to doing like maybe 2 days in the office, because we have access to the Microsoft Office here. Like, it's just not open to the public. Maybe like 2-3 days, even to just be in a different environment around people. It sounds ridiculous, but it's like, I don't know, the chatter, the like hearing other people like on their keyboard and stuff like that. It's like, I don't know about y'all, but it's like, it kind of puts me in the zone. Like I can focus more or something like that.
It is I realized this like, since my company is completely in a different city, like there's no offices in New York for my company, and I realized also that I don't really have work friends that much. Like, I don't like, because they're all even if they was in Philadelphia where the offices are, my entire team, except for like my boss primarily, and my my product owner, are not in Philly anyways, so they're all remote to begin with. So there's not really a set of connections that you can really create even there, because in my company is really remote friendly, and a lot of people, when the pandemic hit, they decided to continue all remote and just move somewhere that is cheaper. I was the only one that moved to somewhere that was more expensive, but it's okay. and but yeah, everyone decided to move somewhere cheaper, and so they moved out to like Michigan, Florida, or like the Carolinas. Like, so there's like a little bit everywhere. And yeah, so I realized that really, like, outside of like my group of friends, I don't really have like any work friends that you can like create like a bond that goes outside of the in the job environment, which I feel like when I was in my internship, I did create, and I was like going out with my coworkers, I get beers and something, and that definitely like created that like sense of camaraderie that is that actually creates a better team dynamic. Not that I don't have a good team dynamic with my current team. I really enjoy being with my team and everything. It's just, it's a different type of dynamic overall. Like, we definitely know that we are more like co-workers, and that's where the extent of the relationship goes, I think.
Yeah, just like looking forward to coming to work. It's not like you don't when you're remote, but it's like when you have these little things that make it go by faster. And it's not like you like dislike work or something like that. Make it go by easier, or make, well, like I said, communication easier. Like it's overall going to make you a little more like happy. But then there's the flip side, no commute. You don't have to necessarily wear fancy clothing, or I guess whatever the dress code is. You get more time back, all those kinds of things. Yeah. I'm really thinking a hybrid approach is a nice thing, a nice option for, I mean, especially for me. But then again,
for sure,
I only have to walk 8 blocks to the office, so that's like a massive difference. But yeah, people say it can be like that. It's easy to lose concentration. Also, what the thing with remote also is, you're at your desk, that's your work, and then you close your laptop, and then you open up your personal laptop, and then that's the only difference.
barrier. Yeah.
Right, like, because like Rishabh, that's where you work during the day, right? In that, yeah, same for me. Alf, you work there, or do you like work in a different room?
I mostly work in my living room, because I'm stay with my dog, so that it doesn't feel alone. But then when I can, I go work here like after, and that's where like my games are and similar. So there is a little bit of separation, but I end up mostly being in the living room anyway, so that I can be with my wife or my dog anyway. So there's not like much separation to begin with.
You know what I'm thinking, and I feel like like with a city like New York City, there probably exists like spaces where people can work. They don't have to work at like the same company, like WeWorks, but not as expensive as WeWorks.
Oh yeah, there's a few of them here. I wanted to go, but I don't want to spend like $500 a month just for that. Really, not yet. I don't know.
I wonder.
Yeah.
I wonder if the reactor would be open to like once a week hosting like everyone just come work for the day kind of thing.
Yeah.
I'll look into that. That would be super cool.
We do have like 2 places that opened up here in Kingston. I don't know the rent on those things, but they're really cool.
They're cool, but it's like insane. Like like the WeWork was like what $500 a month from last time I checked.
Yeah, like the one that I have next to here is like in the Upper East Side is $550 a month, which is just quite stupid.
Yeah, definitely not. Face-to-face connectivity is crucial to see how people react to stresses. Yeah, I mean it's hard to like because I feel like with a camera, people tend to not be as like real and as natural as they are in person. Like maybe you'll try to be a little bit more like I don't know something for the camera, even if it's like a Zoom call or something like that. I don't know. It's what I've noticed, but I could be wrong.
In my opinion, like about the stresses, like how people react to stresses, more than that is actually being it's easier to in face to face to understand whether a person is uncomfortable with what's going on or something, or if they are struggling, so it's easier for you to be helpful in a in-person environment. I don't see that as like oh, I'm testing my colleagues, like in seeing like how people react to stresses. For me, it's more of a hint of maybe we should make it facilitate this person because it's not having a good time right now, so let's help him out.
You can pick up on more
social cues easier.
I'm in a hybrid role now and I love it. Yeah, I'm looking forward to going into the office a couple days a week. Then we have Carlitos telling us, I've been 100% remote and I really like it. I can't imagine commuting and stuff. Yeah, I think, Richard, we mentioned this last session or stream, like commuting. All right, yeah, commuting can suck. Obviously, it depends on everyone's commute. But especially commuting to a job that you don't like.
It's hard.
I remember waking early up in the morning and just going to like, I would drive to the help desk gig for like an hour and 15 without traffic one way. And I was like, this is just so miserable.
Yeah. Especially, I hated the winters because it freaking took like 15, 20 minutes to just warm up your car and remove the snow.
Clean up the snow.
And in New York, you don't know when the metro comes, like if the subway comes, like it's like those are the things, because I'm saying one thing that you lose, like one thing that we don't consider when we do only the discussion about the work environment is everything that is like ancillary to the work environment, which is getting to the work environment and like lunches, all the things that are not specifically work only related stuff. So productivity and similar, but it's also about like the life outside of work, and remote facilitates that so much. But then you lose on the work itself. But then remote, like being in person, maybe facilitates productivity, certain aspect, but then you lose all of that in the out, like getting to work, lunches, organizing with for example, I have a pup, like a dog that is very young. Like if I leave him home for 8 hours a day, 9 hours a day, I need to get like a dog walker that goes like once in the like a lunchtime and brings him out, and all of these type of things. Like those are extra things that like a remote allows me not to think about because I can do it myself. But then if I have to be in office, I have to now I have to use a WAG and spend like $40 a week, $40 a week. I wish like $200 a week, like or
really?
something.
That's how much a dog walker costs?
A dog walker is like, I don't know, it depends. It's like $25, maybe $20 for a walk. Then you do it maybe twice a day, and then it's just $40. Plus times 5 is $200.
I did not know that. Oh my goodness.
Yeah, it's like crazy. So it's really not like those are extra things that remote doesn't. You save a lot on ancillary things, and you lose on productivity, maybe. But maybe. Yeah, but then you definitely. If there are companies that, for example, they say, hey, there is like the commuter benefits, which is paid transport, paid lunches, paid everything.
True.
That's great. that if that's a thing, then I would be okay in working, because that gives me the clearness of mind of not thinking about those. But that's another part of
Yeah.
like being
So I
remote
did a
versus not.
and that yeah, so I did an analysis in 2020 on how much I saved on lunches, gas money, and time. And the numbers are like really like I would love not to commute because I saved around an hour and a half every day, which is a
Mm-hmm.
lot of time, right?
Mm-hmm.
Because I would get up hour early, dress up, all of that stuff. If I don't have anything cooked, I would eat out. And then while coming back, I'm already hungry, so I would grab something to eat again. So it ended up like, I don't know, thousands of dollars at the end of the year. And then insurance money was another thing because the only thing I commuted to was my work. So I canceled my car insurance or just reduced the number of kilometers that I drove every year.
Mm-hmm.
And I saved a couple $100 on that. But yeah, no, you miss out on some things, but there are some things that I never miss for like working in person. I would love to stay home.
There's this thread I'm gonna bring up in a second, but let's like
Yep.
go through these because like the topic of the stream is sort of like this. Because I was on this cloud space yesterday. I've been not cloud Twitter space. I've been listening to a bunch of these cloud related Twitter spaces, and they were talking about how the market is so hot and people need to go apply. And I'm not aware because I'm not looking for a job.
Mm-hmm.
But then I came across this thread that says that the market's like the most polarized it's ever been.
Mm-hmm.
But let's grab some of these questions first, like the rest of them, and then we can dive into that. Because I feel like a lot of people who are like looking to get their first job in tech or in cloud listen to us or watch this. So I feel like it'd be an interesting conversation. But let's grab the rest of these here. Now that you guys are high earners, what do you like to spend your money on? I mean, I live in New York City, so my money goes to rent.
It's not like that much of a high thing, honestly. Like I'm also in a company that is not like a big tech. Like I'm not Microsoft or Google either, so it's definitely like it's not like the rent takes a big chunk, and overall you have to kind of think about it. Like I would think that like the main thing I use is like board games. There you go. Yeah, you can see basically that's my only way of spending stuff.
Yeah. For me, it's my PC. I don't know. I upgrade every month. Some component of it, I upgrade it every month. But that's like, okay, it's reasonable. And then sneakers. I love sneakers. And I think people complain about it. The people like my friends and my brother and my partner who live around me. I have too many shoes and I still keep buying them.
Yeah.
But yeah, that's my happy pleasure or guilty pleasure.
Yeah, video games too. I'll buy them. I'll play 2 hours and never play again.
I have like sealed copies.
Right in time to get the Steam refund out, so that I can't refund them. You should play 1 hour and 59 minutes and then just refund.
Yeah, I want to get Dying Light too.
I'd be down to play like to get the, but like right now I have Horizon Forbidden West and Elden Ring.
Yeah. Now I feel like we have gotten so busy because I remember those days when we played video games together.
we played FIFA until like 3 in the morning.
Yeah.
That beautiful days.
We would cursing on other players.
We would play Volta. It gets so frustrated. We would play like 10 games back to back.
Yeah.
And then Tony would start yelling at me. I remember that because I was like the most. I would suck at it because I didn't know what Volta was.
Oh man, we gotta. But Dying Light has a co-op up to 6 players, I think.
Yeah.
It looks really fun.
It is like I kind of wanted to get it anyways because it's like I remember I enjoyed the Dying Light, the first one, but I didn't finish it. So I was thinking about getting the second one, or maybe even get the first one and like finish it and then get the second one. But yeah, I have a few ideas in mind in terms of games. I don't play that much anymore really, because at this
Board
point,
game.
board games is almost like I'm also working on like a side project now that is like fully board games related, and that's taking a lot of my time as well. So I definitely work like board games take most of my time at this point in
Nice.
terms of like enjoyment. But like the board game, I do play a lot of games as well, like video games recently, and now I got like I pre-ordered both Elden Ring and Horizon Forbidden West. So
Yeah. So in November, I was in NYC and we went to Antonio's place to play Coop, which was so fun that I bought it when I came back, and now we play it like every weekend, which is really
yeah,
fun.
that's how you get started.
Yep.
I'm gonna add the Twitter thread that I was mentioning to the chat, and then people can click onto that.
I can open it up and share a screen. If
Oh
you
yeah,
want.
yeah. Let's do that, because I found this whole thread like so fascinating, because it's like exactly how I feel, but it's sort of like a tough thing to swallow, because when you're telling someone that they're new, you don't necessarily want to tell them like the market's just not going to work in your favor at the moment, and you're like, it's really going to be hard. But I also feel like all these like Twitter spaces that I've been listening to that just tell people like, oh, like you're gonna get hired, like literally just they're hiring like absolutely everybody now, like go. I feel like does a disservice.
Yeah.
But essentially, the thread says the tech job market has never been more polarized. Demand for senior tech workers has never been higher, but new grad and junior folks have never had such a hard time getting that first job. And I recommend people to go read this, because there's a lot of good information, but there's also an article in here that's linked that actually has like pretty solid advice, which is stuff that we've been telling people essentially. But it's interesting that like with this COVID thing, with remote work, companies have been pushing to get more senior engineers, and essentially like instead of hiring juniors, they will just steal other people's and other seniors by offering them more money. So that's why when you hear like people be like, oh, I like just literally got a $20,000, $30,000 raise because I went to this other company. And that doesn't like breed the culture of like, let's hire juniors and like nurture them, right? It's more like, okay, if that company is just offering more money to get seniors, let's do the same, because I guess it's cheaper for them to just offer more money instead of training juniors from the ground up and that. But then, there's a lot here. We can go through a lot of it, but I know both of y'all saw this thread, so I want to get your initial thoughts on it.
So it's true, and this is not. So I'm also not looking actively into jobs and stuff, but I had a really good discussion with my previous manager when I was like resigning and stuff. So what's happening is people that are senior, as Gwen said, are leaving, right? Because there are other companies that are ready to offer 20-30% more money because you have that experience. And because that's happening, I'm going to take an offer that's offering me, I don't know, 40% more money, right? Especially if it's remote. So I have seen that happen with some of my like person that I know in my circle, where company X in London is offering, I don't know, 30% more, and you're free to work remote. They'll take that. And what's happening is now medium or to senior level engineers are leaving for better offers. The companies now where the positions are vacant, they're not ready to hire junior developers or junior engineers because they lost a senior engineer.
They're seniors. Yeah.
They start looking at senior engineers. And so I also had this discussion with my college here, is because the dean, I was talking to the dean, and she's like, it's so hard. Like we have like so many fresh graduates and they're not finding jobs, even though there are like thousands of jobs available within like 100 kilometers of our city. And I'm like, so she said the job market hasn't been so hot since I don't know when. which is astonishing because now children or students are under the impression that there are so many jobs available. Like it should be easier to get in, right? But I don't know. It's like because somebody lost a senior engineer, they're only going to look for a senior engineer because they know there will be some kind of impact on their performance, on deliverables that they're going to be measured on, and stuff like that. But one of our senior software developers said, until and unless we don't invest in junior engineers and show them the path, make a career, because this is the thing, I didn't know what I want to do with my life in the next 5 years when I joined as a tech support guy, right? And because of those insights that my peers or mentors at that company provided, I was like, okay, yeah, cloud is the thing I want to do. I don't want to do QA. I don't want to do software development. And the only way I could get that insight is because they helped me look into
they
it.
Mentored you.
Yeah, they mentored me. They're like, try this, try this, try this. And that's why I was able to stick around for almost 5 years, right? And so that senior developer said, if we have those growth opportunities within the company and we pave the right way for them and we keep supporting them on what they want, because at the end of the day, you need company to grow, but you also need to build trust. You also need to build a relation with your, especially when someone joins really young. I had a gratitude in my mind that, okay, yeah, they did this for me. I've got to I'll keep improving until unless I see okay, there's a dead end and I cannot grow anymore, I'll switch. And that's what
or
happened.
You get an offer from Google.
That's what happened, because there was some kind of limitations that were coming into play. I was not able to spread out as I was in the past. But I think that's my take on it. But that's some insight on what's happening.
Yeah. Alf, initial impressions.
That is a little bit of what I've been seeing, especially recently. I've been joining a boot camp, like a tech interview boot camp, and I'm seeing experience from a lot of people that are pretty high in it's not a junior, but not quite senior. And there is these increased requirements for those positions that are almost close to a senior, or basically you would be hired for a senior position, so you really need to have a certain set of skills that either you need to show in technical interviews, or you need to actually have in your already experience. So if you're a person that, for example, is trying to career change, that you had experience, you're not junior, but you had experience, and maybe it's a parallel move, you're moving from one field to another, within the tech space, it's really hard to jump over people that have been in that specific vertical for the entire career, because those are the people that are being looked for right now. And it's kind of scary because someone was mentioning that it's kind of scary if you're for example H1B. Honestly, right now, being on any degree of visas, it's really scary. I have recently was on a visa, and now I have a green card, so I kind of just eked out of that. So, and otherwise I would have been in a very, very scary situations, because my company hired me for a position that is pretty high up in terms of it's a technical lead position. So leading a team and similar, if you don't have that type of experience from before, it's really hard to find a job. We are not hiring for any junior person, for example, or any intermediate level person. And that's a trend that I've seen in the data science space specifically, but also I've seen it from the folks that are in the same tech interview boot camp that are doing this. Hey, I'm trying to learn to enter the space, but it's really hard to find any kind of position.
And this thread, so I mentioned, I linked it in the chat. This thread says the market is hotter than during the .com boom, which I think is insane. Again, I had no idea what that market looked like. I was a child then. I'm sure most of us were too young to understand what the job market looks like for tech here in the US then. But I have this other one. Hold on, let me Rishabh, I'm gonna put this in the private chat, and if you could open it.
Sure.
This other point that they made was, oh my goodness, hold on. All right, this other point that they made was that the smaller companies that say have less money, or like smaller to mid-sized companies that have less money to like simply offer someone like 30% more than what they're making, are losing talent like crazy, right? And this is another article that I recommend people, because there's like a lot of solid tips there. But then I remember when I made my video, like how I became a cloud engineer without a college degree, and I told people in this video, like the biggest thing that I did that worked in my favor then and continues to work now, and it's like proven in the data this person is presenting, is widen the places that you are applying. Go for absolutely anything that, like, any company that's out there that's willing to like give you an interview, right? Especially now, like, yeah, the market is hot for seniors and stuff like that. It lets the smaller ones like sort of to an extent like bleed for talent.
Yep.
Yeah, you're not going to get into as easy as to Fang. It's probably harder than ever now, right? But then you have more opportunity in these smaller ones. There's one of these people, I can't remember which article it says it, but it's in one of those threads. It says, take the first offer you get. Given the current market, how do y'all feel about that? If y'all were new and you're applying to jobs, and you just want to land in the tech space, someone gives you an offer, it's the first offer you get. Do you take it, or like what's your mindset?
That is what I've done when I got my
Exactly.
offer. when I got my offer, that's what I've done. Like I was about to interview for a second offer that was much more close to what I wanted to do, but I took the first offer that was moved to me, because I knew that like it's such a short like even companies are giving you shorter times to like decide upon. Like usually it's like, oh, you have a week once we extend the offer, or even less sometimes. So at that point I was like, I need this job to maintain my visa specifically, and so I didn't wait. But the fact is, like, now I feel like I would be much more interested in weighing my options, because I feel like there is so much power to the especially if you're doing a less junior position. You have so much power, like you're so required that you have the chance to do whatever you want. Like the ball is in like in your side of the field, and companies want you more than you want them at this point, especially companies where they're not like extremely big companies where everyone wants to work for. Like if they are smaller companies, I feel like they are looking for talent as more than the talent is looking for companies.
For sure. Yeah, that is exactly what happened with me. As I did an internship, they were like, we don't have any openings right now, and then 2 weeks later they were like, hey, there's an opening in tech support if you would like. And I was like, oh yeah.
Sign me
went
up.
there. Yeah, went there, did an interview. And they're like, here's your offer. Like, how much time do you need? And I'm like, no time. Give me like the printed version. I'll sign it right off now. So first of all, I had no clue you could negotiate and stuff like that. This is my first tech job. Same thing happened when I got the promotion for like cloud stuff. So I did go through an interview for cloud ops engineer role. They were like, hey, we are going to offer you like X% raise. Are you willing to accept it? Even though that was like on the low side. If I looked at that time at like Glassdoor or levels.fyi, I didn't. And I'm like, I'm getting a cloud engineer role. I'm just going to take it because it's still an upside to what I'm making right now, and also what I want to do with my life, right? Right away, signed it, took it. Same thing with DevOps engineer. So I don't know. I think, yeah, I would just sign it.
I also took, so for help desk gig, I didn't negotiate. It took, and in that time I was applying to a couple of jobs, and I literally just accepted the first offer that I got. But my mindset has, and then for my sysadmin gig, I did negotiate my salary for like, I think like a 5K difference or something like that. And it was still very low. That was like 55K for a sysadmin gig, extremely low, very, very low. But my mindset was like, it's going to get me in the door. I'll probably have to do like a year or two, because that's like the typical amount of time in tech. It's like the average that people spend in roles.
Mhm.
But I'm going to work my ass off because I know what I'm capable of. And I won't be making as much as like the market says I should be making. But this isn't the end for me. This isn't an end goal for me. This is just going to be something for my resume. I'm going to get as much as I can. I'm going to work overtime. I'm going to get on any project that I can. It worked perfectly for me. And then every role after that, I continued to negotiate everything. I had more, like, obviously there's more on my resume. There's more projects, all that kind of stuff. But like when you're getting started, it's so hard. Like I can't imagine like turning down me like when I was getting started. I'm not saying like now, I'm saying like then if I was getting started, I would have been like turning down offers. I don't think so.
No.
And this is just me being honest with like the way I did it. I'm not saying this is what people should do. It's like, that's what I did. I'm like, I got an offer. I'm going to use this. I'm going to make the absolute best out of it. And then I'm going to keep going.
And there's a really good comment. So Trevor says, I would take it because they're really hammering down on having experience, lol. Second one, I'll negotiate. Yeah. So
that's exactly
that's the
what
mindset.
I did.
Yeah. That's the mindset we had. But yeah.
In my personal experience, like the first one, as I mentioned, I just accepted. The second one, I wasn't even looking. Like I was recruited. I just went through the interview process, and they had a better offer, which I still think is like, because the problem is like it's a company not based in the city where I am, so the offer is compared to the city market. So they are doing the compensation based on the Philadelphia market, but it's in New York. It's a little bit more tight. So and I tried to negotiate, but it was still like we managed to go a little bit higher, but not as much. But definitely there is like I had a little bit more opportunity, but I wasn't even looking to change really. So I just decided to change because it was a better job description and stuff. But if I were to just go now, I would definitely be like the negotiation part. It would be at the forefront of everything. Because at this point, knowing what is the requirements, knowing what the market wants, I know what I can provide, and I know what is the value at least. And even if it's maybe a higher, like you want to always like ask the amount that you perceive yourself to be worth, instead of being a value that companies will like accept you at. Because even if you give like a very high value, the worst thing that happens is like that's outside of a range. They're not gonna say no goodbye unless you do something. Oh, give me $1 million for like a junior engineer.
Absolutely.
But if you're like within a reasonable amount, like I don't know, maybe say I would like a total compensation of like 185,000, and maybe they have a range of like 150, they will tell you either, oh, okay, let's work on it, or this is more the range that we were thinking about, and you can talk about it. They're not going to say, oh no, that's outside, it's not the IRS. They have to tell you, oh, do I have to pay this much taxes? And they say, no, you're in jail.
Yeah.
I mean,
the worst thing that could happen is they would say no.
But they wouldn't like retrieve, like they wouldn't
no,
take the offer away.
They would be like, yeah, this is not that what we can afford. We are more looking towards this range or this particular salary figure. And then you would be like, okay, let's see if I can work for that amount. But yeah.
Which is why you should actually check the ranges ahead. Like you should be ahead, and you should never say this is my range. You should actually ask what is the range of the position early on, because then at that point you know if you even want to continue in that position. If there is like it's a way lower range that you're expecting, there is no even need to interview for the company.
I recently had a friend who had to go through like this entire process and ask for referrals and stuff like that. And they ended up offering her something like less than minimum wage. And I was like, wait, what? And then, she declined it and stuff like that. And yeah, I mean, at this point, it's like, I don't hate the hiring process that we go through for tech, but it's more like, we have to look out for each other. Right. And it's like you do have to be upfront and like, just ask.
Oh, for
sure.
Yeah,
like what's the expectation here for like what's the range? Like what are you looking at?
Yeah,
and
I would hate it to just sit through 6 rounds of interviews and then find out that's like it's not something that we could work out, especially on like the salary range side of things. That would So that's like hours of time that went in for preparing for those interviews and also setting those interviews. But yeah.
But
Yeah,
even actually another thing is like you wanna make sure that like that within your company and within your colleagues and knowing understanding each other, like being transparent with your colleagues, because there are situations in which like you have like a colleague that is like severely either underpaid or significantly more paid than you are for the same like level for no apparent reasons, and being transparent about it actually makes like the group more cohesive and similar. So I would like a little bit more transparency from that point of view, because for example I don't know what my colleagues do make, and it's not like I care about knowing their finances or anything. It's just about
just looking
understanding
out
your
for
own.
ourselves. Yeah.
money is always like so tricky that, I mean, I personally don't care. Like, I've made a video about every single salary that I've ever made. People, you can go to my YouTube and find it. Even my current salary is on there. But I've also, like, with sharing that, I've had people like comment like, oh, you make this much, and like they being in a similar role and sort of like looking at me of like, why do you make that much and I don't? I'm like, that's not on me. What's on me is to tell you how much I make, and now you go figure out why you don't make that, right? But it's also like, it's such a difficult conversation to have.
But to just point that out and telling you, like you said, discussing that with your colleagues, even just being transparent about it, it helped me jump my salary like 20 to 30%. And this is the last year that I'm talking about, Gwen, or 2020. Remember when I was talking to you, like I'm going to negotiate my salary, even though like I was not looking for jobs and stuff.
Yeah. I remember this.
But this is because of that transparency. And I was like, oh, holy, like I'm way underpaid. But yeah.
There's I started early at a help desk job in college. So once I graduated undergrad, I had experience under my belt, which helped me go into infrastructure.
This is
good old help desk. Good old help. Yeah. There's another point in one of these articles that says it always helps to be working while you're interviewing, while you're applying, because you stack up two people. The one who has more technical experience is going to land a job over the person who doesn't. Like, you could have pretty similar like resumes, because people need to know that they can vouch for your work, right? Again, there's exceptions and stuff like that, of course, but this is, I mean, Rishabh and I, like we've always said, we have such a soft spot for help desk and support roles. This is an interesting way to go.
This reminds me of a tweet that Scott made recently. I'm just going to share that real quick.
Oh, Hanselman?
Yep. And this is the exact story that me and Gwen share. So this is complicated and multi-layered, but if we go with the thought experiment with the goal of a job, I would say tech support or IT in a non-tech company. Once you're in, do the best you can to automate everything and learn as much you can, and then move up from there. So he's replying to this tweet.
Yeah, gun to your head. I don't know why they use that, but you have to land a tech job in less than 30 days. You can be described loosely as a junior level developer and have no formal training education experience. What strategy and or tactics do you deploy? Help desk. People want to avoid it. I understand. They hate it. They hate customer facing. I know a lot of people go into tech because they want to be introverts, though I really don't see how that stereotype applies anymore, given how much extra communication we have to give in like a remote first kind of field now. And how much better of a colleague and of like an employee in general you are with, like, the more people skills you have, the better of an employee, the better opportunities, all that kind of stuff come up, right? But help desk, man, help desk, really, just go through it for like a year and a half. Like, Rishabh, you went from help desk to a cloud role in, like, I think you said like half a year or a year?
Year, yep.
Yeah, year. I did it in a year and a half. It's very doable. You learn so much. So many people skills, documentation, ticketing, frontlines, like support, like phone calls. You do scripting. You get exposure to every aspect of the business. You will get exposed to working help desk. But I understand people don't want to do it. Hold on. Here's one that I wanted to bring up. I work for an MSP right now. We've all exhausted all of our local city's talent. Wow, you must be massive. If management doesn't start hiring remotely, the company will soon die as the current techs are doing so much more without pay. This was another point that one of these articles says, is that, as a senior engineer, you have the sort of the power to like tell your like hiring managers, like, look, we need mid-level and juniors so they can do like smaller tasks or simpler tasks, or like, I don't know, tasks that are more relevant to them, so your senior talent doesn't get as burnt out and can do more, right? That's kind of obvious. I don't understand why, I guess, hiring managers don't see that.
I think that the key problem with hiring manager is like the assumption is as the senior level goes up, your ability to multitask goes up, and like the ability to field tickets goes up, which is not true. It's just like you do more. Like, I don't understand the logic where, like, when you're go up in seniority, you are just have an ability of like understanding like the higher seniority, the higher the picture you can understand.
Oh yeah,
like you get bigger picture, like larger system, you can understand the larger system, and then you can pour it down, like waterfall it down to whoever needs in under, where they are more at the individual level. Like, you're just thinking like the senior doesn't become hey, I can do more of the small circle together. It's more like, if you think a concentric circle of like of responsibilities, you can have more responsibilities, but you can like fulfill those responsibilities, as in make the code that makes that responsibility happen yourself. So I think that the logic of why seniors are so in request is because there's just this like kind of assumption that if I'm a senior, I can write codes faster. Which it can be true to a degree, but it's not like gonna be like, oh, I can write all the code in right away.
You can't do more just because you're senior.
Like, I can do code maybe that is more reliable or something, because I have the knowledge of like the system and similar, but I can do all the code that you have to make the trade-off. Like, is it more reliable or is more code?
Yeah, and I feel like in a perfect world, like when I see terms like senior engineers or senior developers, senior cloud engineers, what I would expect from them is they look at the bigger picture, they train their juniors, they work on processes, they are mentioned on PRs that juniors are making, and like he or she makes sure everything is insane, like it is sane. And that's how I see it. And when you work at those bigger picture or bigger goals of making these processes more streamlined, there are more junior engineers that are being trained. There are more junior engineers that can be onboarded fast, get familiar to the code base faster. There's proper documentation, proper architecture diagrams. If we streamline those, I think he'll be getting a lot of output, not only for the company itself, but also like for him or her.
Yeah, and in my opinion, the more you go up, like, you're a senior engineer, the more you're responsible for the success of the engineering team that you're a part of.
Yeah,
but exactly. I think that also comes along with coding less. It's like the more you go up, the less you code. And it's sort of like juniors, you don't code too much. I think mid-level codes like the most. And then in like Gwen's perfect team, my idea of a perfect team is like seniors are in charge of like that the proper processes are in place, that things are getting reviewed and getting approved, and the comments and things get fixed and all those kinds of things. They're like more of like architecture, more of decision making, things like that, because they've been through it, they've done it, they've built it, they know what they're great mentors, they have great people skills, they can help others, onboard others. And then when they move on, mid-level moves up, and then they're more responsible, that kind of stuff, right? But if you have like everything falls on top of your senior and to an extent mid-level, and then you have no juniors, then who are you mentoring? Then like your opportunity as seniors, because I feel like a lot of like seniors want to be mentors. Like, it's like they look forward to it. Some people might not want to, but I think in general it's like you look forward to being able to show others and teach others, because helping others is very fulfilling. And it's like it's like a two-way thing. It's not just like you just help them and you don't feel any sort of like sense of like like accomplishment. Like, absolutely, it's a two-way thing. This is why like most of us enjoy teaching, which is most of us enjoy like doing blogs or stuff like that, right? But it's like, if you don't have anyone to like pass it along, like, or you can't continue to build like this circle of just like a successful team, right? It's a problem. But you know, none of us here are managers. Or Alpha, I think you might be the most, like, a senior.
Yeah, I have like I manage like 6 people in my team.
Wow,
Yeah.
I didn't know that. Crazy.
Yeah, but I mean, I don't know. It's hard to say.
There's let me take a look here. Someone asked about this is a good one. Do you also have to start off and help desk to get into it, especially in DevOps? No, you don't. I one thing I will say is that I feel like cloud and DevOps are becoming more like friendlier to like, you'll see more like junior cloud or junior DevOps, but you'll still see requirements like 5 years or something like that, which is to me just insane, ridiculous, right? You can't. We're never gonna tell you to not apply for a job. We're the first ones to tell you apply to literally anything and everything that you want to apply to. Because you know, what's the worst gonna happen? You're gonna land an interview and then you gotta make your case. No, go for it. We're just saying, like, if you apply for 100 jobs and get rejected to 100 of them, maybe start looking for other things. There are junior sysadmin, there are junior like network analyst gigs. There's help desk support always available. There's junior cloud support, kind of stuff like that. There are like support roles that are more like specific to cloud as well. And that's great. You don't always have to start in help desk. We just say, like, if it's like the quickest way you want to get into tech, it's probably one of the options there. Let's see. Yeah, someone says help desk hard to get to. I seen something that wanted 5 years. What? 5 years to get on a help desk? Don't do it. Because they're probably going to want you to like be like some sort of mid to senior engineer, making like help desk like for tier 1 support. Look into sysadmin roles as well. Yeah, sysadmin roles are great. Let's see here. Gets up because people don't put in the hours to improve. LOL. It happened to me and I've seen it. Once you get to a level of complacency, you'll stay there unless there's a motive or pinpoint to improve. I guess that's the one thing about tech. It's like you're always, every week there's a new tutorial.
It's constant learning.
It's good and bad, right? You know,
it is. But I feel like it's a really like important skill to have, is how to learn when you are not in like a structured university, college kind of system anymore, and you're more into like just by yourself.
It's up to you.
You're doing your job, and that's why, like, if you feel like comfortable, I don't say it's bad. It's just that you'll be passed in like next 5 years, right?
Yeah.
But yeah.
Let's see here. Let's take a look. Hiring managers must understand the idea of creating a pipeline of talent for the team. Yes, that was the word I was looking for. Pipeline. The worst thing to happen to a team is burnout senior that leaves with all knowledge without transferring. Yeah, or like you know, this concept of job security, like this one person knows everything, so they know they can't get fired because they know the ins and outs of a product, and then they leave, and then the rest of the team is like screwed, right?
Yeah,
you don't want that. That's worse.
I think it's in chapter 12 or 13. So I'm reading the Phoenix Project as Gwen recommended. And oh my god. And there's this senior engineer who knows everything, and he helps everyone. So it's a good read. So if people have not read it, definitely read it out. It's a typical it has a lot of scenarios that happen in a typical tech company.
Yeah. It's not the best literature. Okay. It's not. Yeah. But it's not. It doesn't want to be that. It's one of these books that are like one of the few books out there that sort of like actually talk about what a journey or a company goes through when it comes to like the technical side of things, right? Yep. Usually you see like the business story or stuff like that. But the Phoenix Project and then the Unicorn Project are very, very fun reads. Thanks for giving us a ton of value with your streams and the content. Can you give more details specifically at each point of your journey? No, at each point of the journey, we should feel ready to start applying Linux, Python, cloud, etc. Okay, so since this is probably specific to learn to cloud, when do we feel like is the right time for you to apply? I can start with my thoughts on this. First of all, are you going into this with no technical experience at all? Like, do you have you worked in tech at all? Like this depends on every person, right? So say if I'm in help desk and then I put in 6 months and I do everything learn to cloud, but working help desk at the same time. Once I'm done with and I'm feel pretty great and I have a couple of cloud projects and I can pretty much talk to any topic that's in the guide, I'm applying. But if I don't have any technical experience, that's where it becomes in terms of a job, that's where it becomes iffy, right? It's I feel like if you have help desk and then a bunch of projects that you work through and a bunch of things that you become familiar with through the guide, and then you go for a cloud job, sysadmin job, whatever it is, it's going to be a lot easier than if you don't have some sort of technical experience at all. In terms of phases, I feel probably after phase 3, you should feel pretty solid. Yeah, I feel like you should be pretty solid to go for entry-level cloud roles. Because at phase 3, you're already if you're doing especially you're doing the cloud resume projects, you're already exposed to everything that matters. You have some DevOps practices, you have some cloud, you have some programming, you have some, is there networking stuff? I guess there's CDN, just a little bit in the resume projects, right? DNS kind of stuff.
There's DNS, there is CDN.
Yeah, there's CDN, DNS. There's not really command line stuff Linux stuff. I can't remember.
No.
There might be some CLI stuff, but it isn't necessarily a big part of it. That's interesting. Now that makes me think we should probably put together a little project that has a little bit more
CLI
focus on Linux and networking.
I see.
But I feel after phase 3, you're pretty good to you should feel comfortable applying to a gig with some tech experience. For sure. 1000%. But then again, you could also not listen to us and apply and you might land a job. Who knows? That's how wild applying for a job has always been, right? You really never know what's gonna land and what's not. Any other insight on that from y'all?
No, I think you covered it up pretty good.
Someone said, I remember I applied for a director position from the help desk. Yeah, why not?
Shooting your shot. Needless to say, that didn't work.
You never know.
You never know. Yeah.
Some people are just lucky.
I tell that to a lot of people, even though people say you're not lucky, you put in the work. I'm there's I believe 50 to 60%. It was luck that played out in my case.
There's a lot of people reading the Phoenix Project right now. I think I'm 7 chapters in and everything is still breaking. The Phoenix Project, great book. The cop is the security guy. Yeah, they sort of glossed over his transformation to being accepted, but yeah, that's true. I'm reading it too. It's a cool book. Alf, have you read the Phoenix Project?
It's right there, but I haven't read it yet. It's
there. So I should stop spoiling it.
I mean, I don't think it's yeah.
The audiobook is really
I don't
fun
think I
too.
remember that.
My first tech job was a sysadmin position. I was super lucky. Yeah, you never know. You never apply, but just because you get a no, don't let it get in your way. Keep studying, keep going. Don't ever feel like you're too, especially at the beginning, don't ever feel like you're any role is beneath you. That's the one thing that's always helped me. Is I've never felt like anything has been beneath me, right? And I've I guess I've also been lucky too. Right place, right time. But yeah I guess that's the amazing part of tech. It's you can literally gain all the knowledge you need from the internet. A lot of it's free. We usually recommend going with free stuff first. YouTube, free code camp. There's so much stuff out there that has just hours and hours of stuff that you can learn. Here's another thing that I wanted to bring up to y'all. That I gained from listening to these Twitter spaces is I feel like the advice is the same. And I will acknowledge that like we have also like given like very generic advice. But like yesterday I told Rishabh, I'm like, Rishabh, we got to stop doing this. I'm sick of it. I'm sick of us like giving the same generic advice that everyone's giving. We got to do better. And the reason I bring this up is because I was listening to these cloud spaces on Twitter, and like they were all like, it was like hours, and people just saying the same thing of like, do a project, get hands-on, network and stuff like that. I was going to ask a question, but then I got cut off for some reason at the space. I think there was like some networking issue or something like that, or technical difficulty, things like that. But I feel like people don't like newbies don't need to hear that you need to get hands-on, because we all know that. What they need to hear is like, what kind of projects do I need to do? Give me an example of a project to do, right? So I wonder if any of us have, outside of the Cloud Resume project, ideas of things that people should go out and build now. Like just like a idea of a project. I like now what I've started recommending to people is go to whatever cloud you're learning. It doesn't matter. They all have them. They all have sort of architecture centers.
Yep.
And all these are incredibly well documented solutions. Sometimes they won't build them out completely, but they'll say, here's this. They'll have a diagram. They'll have the services, and you essentially have to grab them and put them together. And there's like hundreds of solutions out there. I just looked at the Azure one, tons of things in there. Yep. I would say go through those and grab the ones that you understand the most and that you're willing to put in the work. Again, every cloud has them. Do a bunch of those. Then there's the Cloud Resume project. There's those in each cloud. If you do it in AWS, I would recommend doing a GCP and Azure, even if you don't want to like sort of go deeper into any of those clouds. That right there, you have like months of work. Yep. I don't know if you all have any other ideas or projects that you have on top of your mind.
So every cloud provider has this set of projects that you can build, and they're really, really well documented, as Gwen said. But I would also suggest going through like just well-architecture framework or well-architected framework documents. That just show like it will give you that perspective of how to think when you're developing in cloud. And having that perspective is really important, especially when you're like building apps and building projects in cloud. So if you read through those and then build, like Gwen said, Cloud Resume, challenge in all three cloud providers, or any of the projects that the cloud provider itself has documented on their platform.
Let me find links. Someone's asking for the Azure one. I feel like if you Google, it's Azure Solution Architect Center or something like that. I'll find it.
I can grab the AWS one.
Here we go. Let me. There's like a browse option. Here we go. All right, so I got it. I'm gonna paste it in the chat right now. A serverless CRUD app with a managed database. Here we go. So this is the Azure one. Someone grab the GCP one, someone grab the AWS one, and we'll paste them in.
So I just referred to this when looking for projects and stuff, and there are some other good things in there. But here, can I post it as all?
Yep.
All destinations? Yeah, okay. So yeah, that's the architecture one that Think Alf posted, and oh man, this is such a big URL. I don't know what happened. So it's aws.amazon.com/blogs.
And there is also the /architecture for the architecture center.
I don't know what happened.
What is that? Dude. What did you post? What is this?
That's why it took a minute to show up, and I'm like, what?
What happened?
Oof.
You just like spam the chat. And,
it literally is that. So like I'm looking at URL field here. Oh my god.
Anyway, well, Rishabh figures that out. Yeah, our advice,
It's right there.
and maybe I think, all right, so this is what I'm gonna do this week. And maybe we all can do this. Rishabh do GCP, I'll do AWS, I'll do Azure. Let's all go through these architecture centers and grab like the most beginner friendly ones, and then we can talk about them a little bit more on the next stream. How about that? What do people think about that?
Yeah,
things that are like doable. Someone says that's got to be malware.
Okay, yeah, this is good one.
Oh,
But again, if you type this in the browser, it I don't know what it does. It's like a lot of filters and stuff. And I'm like,
let me see if I can provide. There is one thing that is called a ramp up guide for like the AWS architecture. Like it literally starts from everything. It's like a pretty long and like white paper mix of resources. And it's here. I just added, and I can share. I guess. Let me share the screen 1 second.
Yeah, go ahead.
Share the screen and Chrome tab. This dude. I don't know what happened. Okay. So it basically is like really about learn the fundamentals, cloud architect fundamentals, concepts and best practices,
cool.
And there are like different things. Like for example, there is white papers, there are digital trainings, blogs, training. Like it's different ways of learning, but it basically goes from fundamental to like hands-on labs as well and similar. So it's a really interesting ramp up guide for like getting started from very scratch, because the ramp up guide for the cloud practitioner is like the cloud practitioner level, and
cool.
it's actually very simple. Like it's simple stuff. So this is nice, and I don't know if they're similar to other in other clouds, but I'm pretty sure that there are similar things in other clouds as well.
Yeah, I'm sure, and I'll find the one for Azure, and everyone else find the one respective to the cloud and their clouds.
But also in general, remember that like all of these clouds like share a lot of like things together. Like it's not like an architectural pattern in AWS, so will not be a good pattern in another cloud, because all of these underlying logic is just like managed service that are just underlying like programming concepts that are like like computer and software concepts that are just managed by the cloud provider. Like, because remember, like cloud doesn't really provide anything else other than someone else's computer to do your calculations for you. So if there is a logic that works in somewhere, it works on every other computer.
This is cool. Like I'm looking at the Azure one. There's like, oh my goodness, there's so much stuff here. Like specific to services, specific to like platforms, specific to like technologies. All right, I feel like we should grab one, and we'll like explain it maybe the next, or we'll be like, hey, give this a try. And I would highly recommend the chat too. Like chat, go and find one that you're interested in, and next week come and just like show it to us, and maybe we'll bring it on screen and we can talk about it a little bit more. We're not experts in absolutely every single cloud service, but we can find our way around things. And if you're like starting to work through it and you have issues, like bring it up. Maybe we'll have like some time next stream to talk about it.
We're only expert Googlers.
Yeah. Hey, but it works. Hey, you guys have to compile the links and put them on Learn to Cloud. We do have these. If we go, let me find it's Learn to Cloud guide. If you go to more projects, let me copy this here. Or you can add them. Yeah, they're here actually. Are all the architecture centers in here? Yeah, they are. They are. Okay, cool. Just checking. Yeah. So yeah, I think that'd be cool. Like for us, like next week we'll just bring one up, and maybe we can challenge the chat to do it or something like that. That'd be great. Instead of having to like come up with projects from scratch. Those are hard. I feel like everyone is an expert except me, and it gives me the worst anxiety. Rishabh was just talking about imposter syndrome at the beginning of the stream.
Yep.
I don't think that's like everyone is an expert in one thing. And like you can be an expert in I don't know. Like you are always bringing something that no one is bringing. There's no one
Mhm.
so it can be even a small thing, and it can be also a non-tangible thing in terms of like expertise. But you can be a person that really facilitates people to work together, and that's already valuable in a team. So everything else is teachable. Like the biggest things are like when you feel like. There is like definitely anxiety inducing things when you feel like you don't know stuff, but the hard facts are teachable. It's like personality and soft skills that are not, which is
Yeah.
where you wanna like make sure that you are in top form is the skills, because when people are easy to work with, if you're a person that is easy to work and no one cares that you don't know certain things, you're
Mhm.
gonna eventually get there.
Hmm. Yeah. And I'm always self-doubting myself, so you're not alone. It's just that if you have, as Alf said, even with Google, I think it's my soft skills that stood out more than my technical skills because I really bombed some of those interviews. At least that's how I feel about them. But yeah, I think if someone who's interviewing you or is interested in you, they see that okay, yeah, we can teach him technical skills. He seems like a nice person. He can work in a team
Mhm.
and is just a kind person. I think you can grow.
I like the people are starting to come in with what they're experts at. I'm an expert in Googling and Reddit deep dives. My
Nice.
expertise is I click on page 3 of the Google research.
Oh, that's a good one.
In my store, I'm my store's chalky milk expert. Yeah, Alf said a really great thing that oftentimes in technical roles, your top skill set isn't anything technical. So that's
Yeah.
like the case that I'm in. I'm very much a generalist, but
Mm,
you can come to me if you need some sort of technical video content that you need something explained. I can bet you $1 million that I will explain the hell out of something and people will be able to understand it. Give me 10
mhm.
minutes, right? That's my ability. But I'm not going to tell you that like I know Azure Kubernetes service in and out. Heck no.
Yeah.
I don't know any service in and out. I don't know any programming language in and out. I don't know anything in and out. But give me some time with something and I can explain the heck out of it to anybody. And it's up to you to figure out what that skill set is for you. And it's going to be different for some people. And that's completely fine. That's why it's better, you know. That's why we need more diverse people in tech, because it's just going to make the field better.
Yep.
Make Google your main best friend. Just Google everything, literally. This is a great question, because I feel like when you get started, you don't know how to ask questions. You don't know how to approach
Mm,
people asking questions. I remember there's in my sysadmin gig, one of like the smartest engineer that I've ever met. He had been working in .NET for like, I don't know, since it started. So like 20 years or something like that. Yeah, it's like 20-year anniversary. Right? So at that point, it must have been like 18 years or something like that. And he was notorious for being someone extremely difficult to approach with questions. But one day I don't know, maybe I caught him on a good mood or something like that, or he saw in me that I was willing to put in the work. But he said, Gwen, I will answer any question if you meet me halfway there. If you meet me 50% there, I'm willing to help you get 100%. But you just have to put in enough work, because I don't have time to help you figure out what you don't even like have an understanding of what to ask. But if you know what to ask me, then together we can find the solution. And ever since then, I've valued people's time and people's expertise and people's like resources more, because it's like all I really have to do is show people, like, this isn't 100% of the time, but it usually does work. All I have to do is to show people it's like I have an idea of what I'm doing. I'm just lost at this specific point. Can you help me here?
mm,
But I used to approach people like, hey, I don't know what's going on. Like, how do I do this? They were like, what do you mean? There's like, how
yeah.
am I supposed to help you if you don't even know what you need help on, right?
Mm, like
So like,
exacting what's going on. Yep.
and ever since after that, that senior engineer was like one of the nicest people to work with. And everyone still thought he was like an ass, but I was like, no, he like helps me with everything. So.
And one thing is that actually this is like very related to this is like when you ask questions on like Stack Overflow. Like that's like think about your people,
my
like the
goodness.
questions you ask on like Stack Overflow or on like Discord, the servers that are specific to certain thing. Is like when like, or example, when you ask people question, is like when you go through someone's DMs and you say, hey, can I ask you a question? Just ask a question first, but also
Yeah.
say I have this bug, and here is like I can't make and I did this very recently with a problem I was having in Superbase. I just said, hey, I can't really make this work without giving any additional like behind the scenes, and I realized that was useless. Like that's a useless question. It's like, oh, it doesn't work. That's it. You have to make sure that you know what you're trying to make work and why it's currently not working. Like not
Mhm.
why, but like saying I'm doing this, and this is what I want to arrive at, and approach the question in that way. And it's like, here is where I am, here is where I want to be. Why am I not where I want to be with where I am?
Mhm.
And that's a easier way for people to understand whether you are now there, and like help you get there, because maybe they know why, given that you're in this situation where you want to be. Just approach that to every single thing that you do, like understand where you are, and give an idea to where you want to be, because they can't no one can give you the path for you, because they don't know where you want to go.
Yeah, exactly. 1000%. Someone said here, I found that creating a small example to ask my question makes it easier to ask questions, also makes me think. And sometimes just trying to figure out what you want to ask helps you figure out where you're stuck, and then you end up resolving the issue on your own.
Yeah.
And this is like exactly what happens in like when I write my, like I'm as I mentioned before, I'm working on a project right now that is a board game app, and I was like having a couple of bugs that I wasn't understanding, and then I just turned on Twitch, like I started working online like with the thing. No one was there, like it was zero people, but I tried to maintain a conversation, because in case anyone happened, like I wasn't just silent coding.
Yeah.
And I explaining what I was going through made me understand where the bug was, and just by doing that, I solved the bug without having to have anyone ask me, say anything. It's literally like just putting the from brain like from the brain lake to actually words out of your mouth. You may actually find the connection where you were looking. And that's a
Absolutely.
very strong thing to do. It's like just voice it out, even if you don't actually get an answer for someone. Maybe you understand where the fallacy in your logic process is.
1000%. Again, people skills, communication. I feel like tech has suffered so much from the stereotype that we're introverts, that we're to ourselves, that we don't talk, that we don't speak, that we don't work with others, that like we just close ourselves off from this, like, it's like, I don't know, from just like speaking it or like talking it or like working it out, right? But it's also like you have to understand like how you approach people matters with what you approach them, right? Like we all probably get DMs where it's like, hey, like Alf said, like, hey, and then it's like, what is the point of this? Or some people who won't even say, hey, they'll just be like, is this certification good? I'm like, there's no like nothing. There's no like, hey, how you doing or anything like that. So yeah, yeah, learning to ask questions is like super important. I know we've been going like an hour and a half in, so like let's try to grab these last ones and then we'll wrap up. I really like this comment here. I used to work on hospitality and customer service. I'm just building technical skills now. And you'd be surprised how many things you can take from your non-technical experience into your interviews for technical roles. Like, especially if you've worked customer service, hospitality, you have countless situations where you've had like difficult people that you've dealt with and that you've dealt with successfully. Like you'll have those stories that you can bring to the table. You probably have stories where you've had feedback, good or bad, maybe someone yelling in your face and you remained calm. Those things matter. Those things matter a lot. Just so write those down, right? That way you're not thinking of them last minute during your interview, and then be able to speak to them with confidence, because that helps a lot too.
For sure.
I think we might have like skipped some over, but you know, I think that we can wrap up. But yeah, I think for chat for next week, obviously y'all have to come back because we like to build like this hangout, this sense of community and stuff like that. It's cool. We just like, you know, talk about whatever. But yeah, let's bring forth for next stream one solution from the architecture center that we can sort of like say, hey, chat, give this a try as a project. It could be anything really. anything that's in there is fair game. And chat also, I would like y'all to like go to the AWS one, the Azure one, GCP, whichever one you're currently learning or want to learn, or even if you're already learning one, you're a professional in one and you want to like try another one, go ahead and sort of bring those and share, and so other people can like understand, or if any other project really. I think that would be cool. And that way we're not just answering and providing advice that's just like get hands on and that's it. It's like, no, here's something that you can actually try. To wrap up, anyone have anything to share? Doing anything this week? Anything, any videos to promote, plug, stuff like that?
No, I think me and Gwen will be doing a Terraform session this Tuesday at 6 EST. So come hang out. We'll be going over some fundamentals of Terraform and how you can use it as infrastructure as code tool.
It's gonna be fun.
Apart from that, Gwen is doing the 60 second to 120-second bash commands, which are really good. They're like short form videos, and you can learn basically how the command works. And those commands, until now, they're like really important, and you'll use them every day. I've addressed similar commands in my video, in one of my article and video, where I've almost used them daily as a cloud or a DevOps engineer. So yeah. Go check those out. Alf, do you have anything?
Are you streaming this week?
Maybe I'm actually starting because I recently opened like my repo for the app I'm working on to be public. It's very much in very much in progress, so it's kind of bad, but I kind of feel like it's a good way of like keeping that like open mindedness and seeing if other people have ideas or similar. But it's a fun project, and I probably will be streaming at least once, because that's my main project I'm working on right now, and probably I'm gonna put it somewhere here and there.
Cool. Well, cool. Follow us on Twitter, and then you can keep up to that. Are you gonna have like beginner friendly issues? I think that would be cool, especially like when you get to like, I don't know if you have like much cloud stuff related to it, but it would be cool.
I'm doing mostly right now. I'm doing mostly Supabase stuff, so it's not exactly like like there is like cloud involved, definitely, but it's a very full stack, more than cloud specific. But there is like a lot of like serverless functions here and there because it's Next.js based. So there's definitely like interesting. Potentially anyone can try and go through it. I will have to start actually doing issues because I want to move to an issue based workflow. But yeah, like, and there is a link right here. There is clearly it's a very early stage, so you can give it a look, but it's right here.
Cool. Chat, check that out, and then you can follow Alf. He's like literally building it on stream, so you can like see everything, like all the issues, all the bugs, all the Googling. Do you do the Googling on streams?
I do go everything. Like on stream, whenever I stream, I do every single thing online. Like that's literally how I build apps. So it's like, oh, now I have to go on Google and see what this is, and I have to go to do and this. So it's really like the approach that like probably a real person would do.
And like in a like actual professional environment as well. It's like very like realistic,
yeah. Hopefully, yes.
Rishabh said what I have. I just put out like a 50-minute bash crash course on my YouTube. Y'all can check that out. I'm doing like this month. I'm dedicating more to Linux because I just feel like it's just such an overlooked skill set for a lot. If you're at some point in your technical career, you're going to work with CLI. And a lot of people, when they like encounter CLI, is like, oh, run this command. They kind of just run it and they don't know what's going on. I've made it my focus this month to just put as much Linux content out there. So we're doing like, I'm trying to cover in these 60-second, 120-second tutorials that Rishabh mentioned. I'm trying to cover like the most used. So I'm probably going to do like chmod and permissions links this week. We'll probably do like top. We'll probably do some like PS stuff, things like that. But yeah, that's like the focus. And then Rishabh said we have the Terraform infrastructure as code, very, very important skill set for cloud DevOps. This what is that? Tuesday, right?
Yep.
Tuesday. It's gonna be great. Just Rishabh and me spend an hour. It's gonna be on YouTube, so you don't have to pay anything. 6 o'clock Eastern. Is it 6 or 5?
6.
I think it's 6. Yeah, it's gonna be fun. Yeah, that's it, everyone. And yeah, we'll see you next week, same time, same day. Actually, hold on. Crap. Next week is Valentine's Day. I might be away next week.
The 14th is Valentine's Day.
Is that Sunday?
No, that's Monday is
Monday,
Valentine's Day.
Sunday is 13th.
I don't think I'll be. All right, we'll see. We'll have to see.
We'll figure it out.
Yeah. If not, we'll have to skip, or like y'all can do it. I'm totally fine with that. But yeah, we'll see. Chat, just keep up to date with us on Twitter, and we'll let you know. But that's it, everyone. We'll see y'all maybe next week, or maybe we'll do it set. I don't know. We'll see. Peace out, everyone.